Hey everyone, Arthur Fantastic, aka the Smokin' Sage, and today we're going to be talking about the need for a rule change in the Karate Combat uh, Pit Submission Series rule set. I think this overall kind of points to the problem with the lack of enthusiasm in the grappling fan. Um, it's very niche sport at the moment where most people who are watching are also practitioners in some kind of way, but there are starting to pull in more fans. And in the Karate Combat Pit, I think it's a genius idea to include the grappling portion of martial arts. Karate has always had grappling, going back all the way to its roots in jujutsu or jujitsu, that is Japanese jujitsu, going back to the samurai learning unarmed combat to be able to deal with people, and a lot of those situations are going to end up in grappling. That's pretty much common knowledge for any grappler or martial arts historian type of archetypal person, archetypical person who is going to be interested in this type of thing. So I'm appealing to you. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Fights, there's going to be some hands, and unless you are really trained, both people just to stand up and fight, which is happening in the karate combat, many times it's going to go to the ground, which is allowed in karate combat. So where the fight ends and gets stand back up in the karate combat pit is when both knees are down. You have to be standing, one knee down is okay, both knees down, you're standing up. So basically, most grappling exchanges are stymied in the striking portion, but in the grappling version, that's basically where it picks up. And I think that there's a lot to learn from the karate and a lot to learn from the grappling, because I think the grapplers can force a person to put both knees on the ground and thus make them stand up, um, or else force them into a grappling situation in a real scenario. All this said, I think that there are some issues with the current rule set, and we're going to go through some clips from several different KC events, particularly looking at the pit submission matches, and we're going to break down what I see to be a reoccurring problem, and it is honestly indicative of the overall problem that we see in grappling. I'm going to toss it over to the first clip. I'm introducing this clip. It's Alka Theory versus Almor Y, which was at KC 46 in Dubai. This matchup is, see, they didn't do a lot of like lead up in terms of the karate combat um, promotion itself leading up, but there does seem to be some prior connection between these two. Regardless, this match was a great match, and I think that the issues would be for the normal person watching, the person who's watching for the striking portion of the karate combat, that is maybe an acquired taste to like that match, okay? Because there's also parts I'm watching this match and I'm like, there's this underlying feeling that I'm like, there's something wrong here. So we're going to toss it over to this first clip and listen to what the announcers are discussing. And it many cases, they do a great job of, best way to put this, capturing the thought of the audience. They are the most informed for the most part. I mean, they're paid for it, but they're not the most informed. Maybe there's a guru out there, a sage who smokes, that may know a lot as well. But the announcers know what they're fucking talking about. So listen to what they're talking about, and obviously they are using type of language that isn't going to be like, what the hell are these guys doing type of thing, or but it is going to speak to the type of match that happened. I'll go more in depth after we watch this clip.
Now we are getting towards that time where the judges are going to have to start thinking who really pushed for the finish the most in this bout, and it is a tricky one because the most significant submission attempt was absolutely by Al-Qadiri.
Yes.
But it's been Al-Mawai establishing the most offensive positions from the bottom here.
Yeah, I feel like Amarwai was controlling most of the fight, but the best submission attempt was from Al-Qadiri, 100% right. It's going to be tough to judge.
I want to bring to your attention 2 points that can be taken away from this first clip that are going to be a through line through the rest of the clips that I show you. And then we'll move on to the next clip. First off, there is a sense of, I don't know who's winning this match, even from renowned grapplers like GSP, George St. Pierre, and the other commentator who I believe has commentated many, many, many grappling bouts in his career. Josh Palmer, he has the same type of tone and message that GSP is expressing, which is, it's going to be hard to judge. There is something happening, but it's really hard to pin down. The best submission attempt was made by Al-Qadiri, but you could say that the control of the match was in the hands of Al-Mawai, which is debatable. I think that Al-Mawai had some good attempts as well, but regardless, the other point I want to also highlight for you is what is actually happening in the match. We're not just listening anymore, we're also watching. You can go back, watch it again, it's only 30 seconds. There is a repeating pattern. He gets in the guard of Al-Mawai. Al-Qadiri gets in the guard of Al-Mawai. Al-Mawai is the guy on the bottom, Al-Qadiri is on top. He gets in the guard, Al-Mawai makes an attack, Al-Qadiri disengages, re-engages, enters the same position again, rinse, repeat. It's just that same cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, repeat. Engages in Al-Mawai's guard. Al-Mawai tries to spin underneath for a K guard leg entry. Leg entry is denied by Al-Qadiri just disengaging, and then Al-Qadiri just re-engages in the guard. He's engaging in the guard. Not really. Is he trying to pass? Has he passed? He kind of stalls him out. And we'll discuss this more in the next match. Now, I'll stop for a moment and briefly discuss for maybe a minute stalling. Some people say stalling is a legitimate tactic. Some other people say stalling is not a legitimate tactic. I think that if it works, it works. Now, we are watching a sport, and people are getting paid to finish the other one in a concrete way. There's no one wants to watch a match and be like, who won? And we got to put up to the judges. No one likes that. The whole Karate Combat creed is reward the aggressor, reward the person going for the finish. If someone is stalling, there has to be some type of recourse for the viewer, for the authority there, which is the referee. In wrestling, freestyle wrestling, and even in some grappling competitions, there is stalling calls. Okay, stalling is not going to be a legitimate method in a grappling match where only one person can win and someone has to win. What it happens is that, you know, there is a place where the flow of the match is stopping and nothing is happening. Okay, people stall out all the time, people get in weird positions. That's normal. But what we see here in these clips, we're going to be seeing intentional stalling. Okay, people not engaging. We're in a combat sport where we're supposed to engage with one another. There's a level of elusiveness. There's a level of getting in weird positions and just ended up stuck there and just like, okay, we need to reset. And then there's like, my strategy is not to engage you, to make it look like I'm engaging you, to maybe even try to tire you out, which is once again making someone bear your weight. That's a legitimate strategy. That's even a legitimate strategy in a person trying to finish when they're doing it in a way that's also like, we're struggling and we are trying to better our position. We're not just settling in a okay, you just have to carry me situation, rather than a pin, bearing my weight, using this pin offensively. Rather, there is the method that we will see shortly where they are completely defensive and not engaging. Anti-engagement. Now, how we deal with that is something that we will discuss down the line in the series. But this first part of the series is discussing why there needs to be a change. So we're going to go on, same match, Alcathiri, Almawai. We're going to listen to the announcers, and we're going to watch also, because we're doing both. There's all what they're discussing is happening right in front of our eyes in this clip. So be on the lookout.
Alcathiri Pullman. Just looking at the clock. Yeah, 2 minutes left here. It's been a fairly reasonable pace from these two gentlemen for the opening bout.
Fighting for grip position. Alcathiri has a hard time trying to pass his opponent guard, you know?
Yeah, very nice.
Yes. He's very opportunistic when he has a chance. He jump into the submission, but most of the time the action is controlled by his opponent. Depends how the judge will see the fight. Could go, it's very, very tight.
See, it's disappointing to me, George, to see him just go straight back into that closed guard and just accept that position again.
Yes.
Especially with 1 minute to go.
I think GSP puts it in a really nice way, but Josh Palmer comes out and says it. He's doing the same thing over and over again. It's not working, bud. And in fact, it's getting really boring because you're not trying anything else. Are you really that much of a one-trick pony? Or are you really that settled to be that much of a staller? Is this a coaching problem? Is this a rule set problem? Are the rules not incentivizing the practitioners to finish more eagerly? Like this is, oh, this, I need to do this. There has to be some type of incentive there. Are we incentivizing, as karate combat fans who have their ability to make the rules, are we incentivizing the pit submission series grapplers to actually try to win? Now, in this clip, we can analyze it and watch and see that the cycle that I just discussed in a couple moments ago happens 4 times in this one clip, which is only about a minute long. So he pushes him over, enters his guard, makes some half-hearted attempt to do something, disengages, starts again, pushes him over, gets to the guard. That happens 3 times, not including where he begins at the beginning of the clip in crouching in his open guard when he goes for the guillotine. Is this in any way an offensive strategy? Is there any offense being done? Oh, he had the most significant attempt. Well, he had the most significant attempt, but he's not attempting very much. Whereas Al-Mawai is attempting over and over and over again. He's spinning under. He's going for it. There is some type of control. I wanted Al-Mawai to win. That's who I put my upgaming bet on. My upgaming vote. Actually, it's not a bet. It's not a bet. It's a game. Only up. You don't lose. It's not a bet. And I want to take that and add that he is being offensive in a sport BJJ way, which is where they come from. But I think that there is got to be some onus on him as well for being allowed to be pushed over and over again into the same position, and not in some way changing his cycle to counter his entry into this push, enter your guard, because there was a lot of, I'm letting you get into my guard so I can spin under. I get that this is also a legitimate strategy, but they're both doing the same thing through the entire match over and over again, and it's just not working. And there's no adaptation, there's no progression, and I think that these questions all deserve answers. Is it the coaching? Is it the rule set incentivization? Is it really put it on the practitioners? You know, is he a one-trick pony, or is he really willing to stall this much? Those are loaded questions, by the way. I'll admit it. There may be more questions to add that may give him and paint him in a better light, but I think that those are the most two likely. I don't think that this was some really cerebral, like, oh, I'm going to be, and then, no, this is just like, I'm going to try to wear him out and do the same thing over again, and willing to just go back into this one position over and over again. And we see it. It's pretty clear. The announcers see it. And I think that probably the ref sees it because he has eyes. And far be it for me to just say these guys are scrubs or anything like that. I would never say that. These guys are tremendous grapplers. Okay? If I didn't think so, I wouldn't even upvote on their match. So I think that the issue could be a combination of all these things that could be dealt with in a variety of ways. But what those things are, we'll get to that in another video. One more thing I would like to highlight before we move on. Bas Rutten says something. He says, I'm surprised that they're doing this with only a minute left. And implying that they should be going at a high rate, a speed, a will to finish. And as a grappler, as a believer in the Yamato Dimash, the Bushido, the honor, duty, fucking death before dishonor, all that type of mindset, like going for the finish, winning. I also want to ask a question. Is it reasonable to think that a person can go for a sprint after running for 12 minutes? Maybe they can go for a sprint, but it's not going to be the best sprint they've ever ran. It's not going to be a high-paced sprint. It's not going to be the hardest they've ever run. Just the body is incapable of going at that high rate for that long and then go into overcharge mode. Okay? That's beyond even some of the high-caliber athletes. What they have is breaks between what they're doing. Whether it's a football player who definitely has a lot of explosive movement, they're sprinting at sometimes, but there's action and then there's a break. Action and a break. Boxers, kickboxers, thinking here, sprinters, obviously they get a rest between sprints, sumo wrestlers. There is a moment to recollect yourself. You can trace this in modern boxing all the way back to the rules of Jack Brompton, if I'm not mistaken, where you would have to come up to scratch. If you've ever heard that saying, maybe that's more English saying and recorded in more old-timey books that I like to read. But coming up to scratch, you get 30 seconds or a minute, depending on whatever the rules were agreed upon. This idea of getting a minute to recollect yourself is also giving you a minute to regain your energy to do something more explosive and a sprint like that. Obviously, Bas Rutten comes back from the day from like Pride and Pancrase when they had crazy long, what are these called? Rounds. I'm sorry, mind fart there. The idea that we want them to go at a high pace and risk it all has to beg the question, are they incentivized to risk it all? And are they capable of going at that high rate after that long? Because they said multiple times they were going at a good pace that entire match. And I agree, though the pace that they were going at was through the same damn cycle over and over again, and that gets really boring. So there's got to be some recourse for the authority there. We will see that necessary in the next match too. For now, we're moving on to the next match, which is going to be on the same card, KC 45. I said 46 earlier. It's 45. It's Duarte and Ramani. Sorry, I forgot his name. His performance was so forgettable. I forgot his name. I think that he's a physical specimen. I think he's a great grappler. I follow him on Instagram. The problem is that, once again, who is to blame here? I think in this one, we have to blame the rule set more. And you'll see why. We'll watch this match. Not the entire match. We're just going to watch a portion of this. You can watch me review every single pit submission match in my Jits in the Pit series. Check that out here on YouTube. Same channel. Check it out. And I'll let this clip play.
It's very hard for Duarte to go for any offense because Ramani, as always, is head pinned in the center line. But on the other side, Ramani doesn't do anything to trying to pass the guard either.
Yeah, and you see Duarte using his legs to try and
6 minutes.
Drag
Halfway and let's
Romani
go.
forward. Halfway point of this bout.
We can make two observations from this clip. First off, GSP and Josh Palmer are directly saying that this is just no offense from Rahmani, okay? It's completely stalling. Now, there's a method to this stalling, why he's doing it. He doesn't want him to get underneath, but he's also not trying to make any offensive movement forward. Now, that's a problem because you're trying to make a go at the win. You are the warriors in the pit, and one is leaving a winner. And when we're just standing there or sitting there in this particular case, it just isn't at all entertaining. Now, okay, that might be subjective. That might be something that, well, Arthur, that's just how grappling goes. No, it doesn't. No, it does. It does not have to be stalling. Grappling in many other promotions and styles of grappling, Greco, folk style, even types of judo. I think you can get a red card and stuff like that. There is stalling because there needs to be sometimes needs to be a force to say, hey, remember, go at it, go finish, go for the finish. There's a second observation we can make on transitioning from this first topic to seeing and hearing the audible frustration of the referee. It's 6 minutes. Come on, go. Let's go, guys. Let's get it going. Rahmani is literally pushing him down, breaking his posture. That's one thing. Just like sitting back and not doing anything, just playing handsies with him, that isn't doing anything. Okay? We are trying to win here, not edge out on points or a judge's decision. Those are wins on a record, but you didn't win. You didn't beat the other person. See, there is tons of ways where a nullification defense can be a thrilling watch. But it isn't thrilling when the nullification is not fighting the other person. And when two people don't fight, it's not really a match. It's like an assault. I don't even know how to explain it. There isn't the mashing of wills. There isn't an actual contest. There is some type of lesson to be learned there, separating self-defense from sports or even offensive attacks, because sometimes self-defense, you have to go finish someone. You know what I mean? In self-defense, you're not going to be sitting on the street on your feet because you know this person might know leg locks for 10 hours because you know that nullifies his game or what. That's not the only thing that he does, Duarte, because he does a lot of things. But if you're just not engaging with him and just sitting in his guard, that's not self-defense either. It's there's no rationale for it other than you can win by being on top in the eyes of the judges. Is that a problem? Is it a problem with judges? What are the judging criteria, and are the judges just giving it to the person on top? This match goes on, so I'm going to let it transition into another clip.
So the reason why he's not trying to stand up right now, because he knows if he stand up with one leg, like Duarte will attack the leg immediately. So that's why he's staying on Rahmani is staying on his knee right now. If he tried to stand up, if he lift one of his leg and put his foot on the floor, that would give an opportunity to Duarte to go for an attack.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Duarte is actually actively trying to bring him forward, break posture, attack the grips. It's pure just stalling defense from. from Romani at the moment.
Yeah.
Once again, I think GSP phrases it nicely and is rationalizing why Rahmani is doing what he's doing, but Josh Palmer is just straight out with it. He's stalling. He's not engaging. At least Duarte on bottom is trying to engage, trying to break him down, trying to attack. Rahmani is literally just stalling. Now, after the first match, which I really felt like was blatant stalling, but maybe it was a little bit more subtle for people who are not more initiated into the grappling mechanics and strategies and what it looks like to stall. Like, we all know how to stall, we all know how to take a breath while we're training, and there's a difference between taking a breath and just, I'm not going to engage with you for a really long time the entire match. It's happening so much in the match that this is what they're saying, and we're already halfway through the match. This is not good. This isn't a good look for grappling. This isn't a good look for karate combat. No one's enjoying it, including the announcers who are paid to like make them look good. I think Josh is a real one for saying what he said, but I think that it also makes sense logically speaking. He's been a announcer for a long time, and it will only drive down his stock and the promotion around him for not being real with it. So he's a real one for that one, saying he's just fucking stalling, but nicer than I just said it. And you know, I can't blame Romani for his tactic, especially after seeing the first match and understanding the rules to be the type of rule set to win. The person who's just on top, whether they're stalling or not, wins. And I understand that. I understand that concept. I understand being on top is you are winning. You're making them bear your weight. There is something to that. You know, these are things to think about as we recognize the need for a change in the rule set, so that there are at least incentives to finish. We'll discuss like what kind of incentives we can bring to these matches. We can discuss all these other topics that we've already brought up in the future. But continuing on, this match just continues to descend into a. For me, it's like I want one of them to win, you know, and that makes it exciting for me. But for a person who isn't upvoting, a person who isn't really for the grappling, a person who never even watched grappling, doesn't even know that much about it, they're just like, what is this? This is boring. And it, I mean, obviously to the people who are watching who are also experts, they're saying this is stalling, which is another word for boring. That isn't good. That isn't good. Moving on to the next clip.
So 4.5 minutes left here, and not a whole lot coming from either competitor at the moment. Duarte having a lot of trouble securing grips and meaningful offense from the bottom position, but likewise Romani hasn't managed to initiate any sort of pass from a top position. He's really just leaning and wearing on Duarte with the body weight.
Once again, just another open call out that he's not doing anything. At best, you can describe what him doing is grinding him out. That isn't really a way to finish someone. And I believe that there is a place for that. I think that there's a place for that. And I think that there are conversations around that and rule discussion that can come up from there. But that is for the discussion when we have finished looking at why we need to change things, because this is just open stalling. He's not really doing anything. Even the announcers know that he can try to improve his position. Now, is side mount better than half guard, and when is grinding too much? These are good questions, and I can't give you an arbitrary answer. But there is a level of stalling here that is just beyond reasonable amount of grinding, beyond a reasonable amount of tiring them out. You're not doing anything to move forward or finish. You're just on top of them. And that could be, there could be an argument there like, oh, well, that's good. Just to be on top of a person is good. And I am, once again, saying that there are conversations around that we can apply it so that it is incentivized in a certain way, even, or be able to finish somebody by, in a way, grinding them out by trying to pin them even. But there has to be something more than staying in half guard and putting your shoulder and head into them and just weighing down. That's beyond reasonable expectation of what a grappling bout of two people who are trying to go for the finish is. It's like stalling. We know it, like, and how and the boundaries of that, etc. Once again, we can discuss that later. But let's identify what's going wrong. What isn't working? Obviously, the stalling is not working. It's not entertaining.
He needs to get himself underneath Ramani if he wants to go for a leg lock attack, which is very hard. Ramani is doing a great job of blocking, but he's not going for any offense either. He's not, he's trying to pass, but not in an efficient manner.
Yeah, I feel like the smallest opening now is gonna dictate.
For those who didn't catch it, what GSP said is that he's not trying to efficiently pass the guard, which is a nice way of saying he is trying to make it look like he's passing the guard, but he's not. He's just stalling. So that's the problem. Stalling. Once again, I don't know how to make it any more clear. He's not he's circling, but he's not trying to cut the corners in this passing situation. If you wanted him to stand up and that's the only place you would engage with him, is it possible to step back and ask him to stand up? Is that fair in a grappling situation? Once again, these are questions that we should come to and ask again when we're discussing the rule changes and how it should change. So moving forward, next clip.
James, the BJJ kid. Exactly.
Well, Duarte tries to wrestle up here. Oh, gets stalled, shots to the back. That was good.
Oh, no, he's getting himself on. Oh, that miss. That was his best chance. His best chance so far. Trying to go for a submission.
Yeah, it's
minute and a half, guys.
He's forced. At least what he's done is he's forced some defense from Romani. But this is such a cagey battle.
1 minute. That's a minute. Let's 1 minute. Make it happen. 1 minute, guys. Let's go. So 1 minute, less than 1 minute. See if they go for a Hail Mary attempt.
Yeah, it's tough, Rex. You don't want to give away the mount potentially, but it's very tough. I'm quite happy with the draw at this rate.
That's the last clip of this Romani match. Okay, so there you go. But what's going on in the match, as they are commenting in it and over the clips I've shown you, it's the same positions that he's going through over and over again. There's like a moment where I'm like, oh, this is a little bit exciting, and he goes right back to it. No one's trying to finish. And the announcer, Josh, our boy Josh that we've talked about, he is willing to just take a draw for this one. That's how inactive both of them are. He's like on top, but he's just stalling. At one point in that clip that I just showed you, he's literally sitting back with his arms out, okay? And he's like literally it looks like to concede something, like a person conceding uh, guard. I understand it, I guess, but he is looking like he's going to conceal, like, oh, come and get me or something, and then he just pushes him away, and it's just really just so that he doesn't interact with him, so that he doesn't actually have to tie up. So then in that case, it's just more stalling, and it should be a draw. No one did anything. No one was able to do anything. And in Karate Combat, when there's a draw, you go to a sudden death. And the winner of that round, only that round, and by aggression, they win the entire thing. Doesn't matter anything else. So even if there was some stalling and draw through the 3 rounds, rather the that's for the Karate Combat. That's in 3 rounds. Oh, that's weird. Why did they do 3 rounds and the pit submission only do one long one? Anyway, if there was a draw through the round, then maybe we take a draw, the sudden death round. You know what I mean? And whoever wins that round and is on an aggression, and everything else doesn't matter. So even if there was some stalling, we could then have forced them into a place where they have to be aggressive for this last however long to go for the win. Whoever is aggressive and going for it in that round. So at least you would get some, like, okay, this is building up. There's a lot of draw. There's a lot of, but there's still this. Okay, where the drama built up to this sudden death round. That might be something. That's something I just wanted to throw out there, because we talk about draw in Karate Combat. We think sudden death, right? But why don't they do that there? And I think Romani does beach wrestling, so he totally understands the sudden death. This beach wrestling has a sudden death round. So moving on, one more clip. This one's from the Craig Jones match. This match was actually pretty good. It's somewhat competitive. I think Craig Jones is playing with him. He's not being as aggressive as he could be, or maybe his style is just very, like, wispy and ethereal and only sometimes aggressive. I don't know. I felt like he was playing with him in there and allowing for the match to go longer, because he usually finishes. I think he was going for something like a little bit more, I don't know, highlight reel. And this, what happens here, I'm not so much trying to point at like them playing around or anything like that, though there is a level of, like, what are we doing here? But when I look at these Craig Jones matches, I'm like, these matches are really just like a super fight. You know what I mean? Because Craig Jones is going to win these matches against elite MMA fighters, top rising prospects, ranked maybe even. I'm not sure if this guy was ranked, but he is doing just grappling all the time. And so, of course, he's going to win in a grappling match, not an MMA match. I don't know how he would do. I don't know if he does any training like that. So let's watch this clip to see what I'm talking about, and then we'll discuss it and close up.
If you look for it, it doesn't come your way. You least expected it. Whoa. What do we got? Gymnastics going on here.
Yes.
I can do that too, a somersault.
I can't even
Right now, my neck's probably doing thing.
There's a time to have fun and there's a time to get serious, and with the clock down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds, this is definitely the time to start getting serious.
I don't know if Craig ends up getting serious, dude. I don't think that's in his nature.
He's definitely capable of it. Whether he chooses to be is another matter.
So as you can see, there's a little bit of like a tit for tat. You did a little roll down your side, I do a forward tumble kind of retort. You're responding not verbally but with your actions, and it's funny. It was actually charming and entertaining. So I think that's funny from Renat. I think that's such a Craig Jones things to do, just roll over because he's going to play guard. And once again, I think that's like it wasn't like the other matches that were like close in some way. Like even though they were stalling, they were trying to. There was something happening, like they were stalling because they were respecting the other person's game, or they felt like they could just win by doing this, or maybe a combination of those two, or maybe they were afraid of losing now that they've had some success in the match, and so they kind of shell up mentally. These once again, these are going to the questions: is this a skill issue, mindset issue, um, incentive issue, a coaching issue? Like, it may not seem like it, but it's loud and it's hard to hear your coaches. When you get a break, you get to talk to your coaches, and maybe you can come out in the next round not doing the same thing. This is why we see people change it up between rounds in certain MMA fights, KC fights, boxing fights, and all the other, even for teams like, oh, we're going to change like, it's not working right now, we're going to change it up after halftime. This gives an opportunity to reset your mind and instead of just going to be locked in this loop. So is it partially that he is not able to given an opportunity to break that loop? You know what I mean? Can this mindset be remedied by any kind of rule that we can put in there, or it's not so much a rule when you give them a break, it's more so that break gives them the opportunity to change their mindset if they have. Also, this ties in with the coaching. While we're on the subject of the Craig Jones match, which is obviously the caliber of grappler that Craig Jones is higher than Renat, and that's going to be expected once again. Is there a way to, because there's been a couple times where it's been an MMA person versus a grappling person, and pretty much every time that grappling person is going to beat the MMA person. I don't know if there has been a time where it has gone the other way around yet. Is there a way to make this more competitive for the people that are outside the discipline? It's not necessarily, oh, let's change the rules for people who don't grapple, but is there something that we kind of see in Craig Jones's CJI, Craig Jones Invitational rule set coming up, which I'll be doing a video next, which was basically a part of the series. Is there a way to allow other styles, just like we have in the karate area, to allow other styles to help form the grappling, not just BJJ, which is not all of grappling. There's obviously many forms. Catch as catch can wrestling, which is what the CACC in Jits in the Pit stands for, by the way, if you watch that. Boom. Needless to say, there needs to be some rule set changes. There can be, the question once again is this last one: is there something we can do to make it more competitive for non-professional grappling only grapplers? Can we make it more even for wrestlers, judoka, and karateka themselves, who are not just specialized in grappling? Can they be given a place here in the rule set that can still keep it exciting? Not, once again, the stalling type of do nothing, don't engage with the person, nullify what they're doing, and then don't do anything at all yourself. Just be there, stopping what they're doing. Is that what we want to cultivate in karate combat? Is that what we want to cultivate in grappling in general? We have to talk about these things. And I thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. Links in the description if you want to check out KC Combat 45. I'll put it down there. If you want to check out my Just in the Pit videos, I will link them down below as well. And if you are interested in just supporting or following me on any other social media, description is below. I've got a Ko-Fi. You can give small increments if you're into this type of thing. Thank you so much for watching. Stay up, stay vigilant, stay locked and loaded. Shalom, shalom, peace in y'all. Talk to you soon.